Welcome back to the Culture Crusade. Good to be here. How is everyone? And gentlemen and chat and everyone, I'm sick. I got a friggin' cold.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, if I sound a little, I don't know, throaty or I don't know, or if I say something retarded, this time I can blame it on cold, like fog head. You know, the type of thing where you're like,
What do you usually blame it on?
just being retarded, but this time I can I can blame it on the cold. So I got an excuse.
Fair enough.
See, and there's going to be an occasional cough, I think, because talking aggravates the throat.
Understood.
And so, Mike, you're working on something there.
Well, yeah, I've been doing a lot of commissions on Whatnot, the Whatnot app, and so one of the things I'm doing, this guy actually previously ordered a Wolverine and a Spider-Man, and then he wanted a Doctor Doom to go with his little triptych he's gonna frame on his wall. So yeah,
Nice.
and bro, I've been having so much fun with these color markers. I've gotten so much better at them in the last 2 weeks.
I mean, the red highlights look sick, dude.
Right. I know they don't even I don't know. I just dig it. I always like here, I can show you some of the other ones I've done. These aren't the best ones. These are ones I did like last week. But it's like they love sketch covers, and I always do that kind of side lighting. Well, except I did do it on her. I did a green on her, and I made a Fuji apple. Fuji, delicious, best apples. Lone Star. This was backlit, and this was yellow on the side, and then snickety snack. I got your Wolverines for you. So
nice.
That's what I've been up to.
So you've got the artist cam up today.
Yes.
So everyone's going to get to see your marvelous talent at work while we're chatting, and then Lit Dev.
Yes. I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, I saw that video you've been working on dropped.
Yeah, finally.
I haven't watched it yet.
I haven't seen it yet either.
It's got some good feedback. Got some good feedback. Now here's the thing about that one though. So they go and say you can't do a review that's longer than the movie. This one isn't. It's down to the minute, the exact length of the shit. So you can't say it's longer than the movie.
No, you can't. That's always an interesting, it's like, why would you review it for so long? It's like, because you got things to say. And honestly, if you're going to be looking at like every part of the film, which is perfectly valid, you can, I guess, if there's stuff to comment on, absolutely. But the commentary is usually going to be, a bit longer than maybe the part that and so by nature, it can end up being longer than the movie. It doesn't invalidate it at all. But we got a couple of things to talk about today. But
like Dr. Doom being gay.
Wait, what?
What?
Yeah, they're gonna make what? They see that comic. It's on Bleeding Cool. The comic where Dr. Doom kisses Killmonger.
What?
What the heck?
Why you got to bring that up while I'm drawing Dr. Doom?
Because it reminded me of that article.
Everything has to be gay.
It's Dr. Doom's son. Dr. Doom's son kisses Killmonger in one world under Doom.
So Doom was not a very good father.
Right here, Dr. Doom's son kisses Killmonger in one world under Doom. Marvel Comics.
Like they always like kind of a side doing. I think the only side said this stuff. It's not Dr. Doom. It's the son of Dr. Doom, or it's like it's not Robin. It's like Tim Drake, the Robin no one really cares about. Like that's the one that turned bisexual. I think
I cared about Tim Drake. He was my favorite Robin, and then they've just totally ruined him.
They're the only one because the only
was cool.
Shad will excuse your retardation because you're cold.
They only inject the gay virus into the characters that no one cares about. So.
All right, this Teen Titans, right? I'm gonna go full screen. This has Tim Drake in it, and Tim Drake is just an absolute badass in this comic. He's like a ninja, and they did him brilliantly. And so, like, Tim Drake was a great Robin.
So, what's effectively the difference between Tim Drake and Damian Wayne?
Damian Wayne is more actually.
I don't like Damian Wayne. Look, I haven't read much with him in, but all the like clips and everything is like this super edgy, I'm raised by assassin, son of the Batman kind of thing. Now, like Tim Drake was thoughtful, methodical. He would plan out, and he was a tactician, and he was just cool. All right. I like that about him. He was like the badass, nerd kid. That was Tim Drake. And then they've just made him gay and ruined him, like making him this like weak, pathetic character.
Why does everyone have to be gay?
That's a good question. It seems like there's a group of people that think that it's just better than being straight, which I don't understand.
Men never cared about that stuff. Men never cared about sexuality and everything. So none of these characters had canonical sexualities. But then we started having, letting in people who did care, mainly women, who started writing these characters, and they started caring about what's their sexuality. Like before,
Tim Drake was canonical. He had the hots for female.
Well, I mean, they have to be canonically straight. If they're not canonically straight, then they're going to be bi. That's just the rest of the rule. It has to be specifically straight.
Yeah. And like we've seen clips, so there's that streamer that's like, oh my gosh, if she had a son, she's going to do everything in her power to make him either trans or gay, right?
Oh, I remember that.
Remember that clip? It's just like, what? I just don't understand it. I think being straight is pretty cool.
I think it's because
being married, having
white,
children.
She was assuming that her son would be a straight white male.
Well, that's the normal default usually. Like
right,
it's kind
right.
of
No, but see, this is the what is it called? The inclusivity or exclusivity thing, where it's like if you're straight white male, you're automatically the oppressor. So you have to be something else so you can be oppressed.
And that is just like inherently like bigoted. Honest face, it's like the whole notion where everyone's racist, or if you're white, you have internalized racism and all that nonsense. Oh my gosh!
I think people are tired of that. That's why what's her name got like $700,000, right? I think everyone's done with this. You're white and therefore evil. You know what? We're giving this lady $700,000 for saying the N-word, right? How about that?
People are getting fed up with it.
Here.
And speaking of,
I haven't given her anything.
Become the oppressor the feminists say you are, right?
Speaking of making everything gay, Mike, have you been watching The Last of Us?
Yes, and that's not even the thing that annoys me. It's that it. Well, I mean, I've already been through that part of it, so it's like the fact. And it just dawned on me yesterday because they introduced, like right at the beginning of the show, they introduced 2 more people who are like in charge of their segments of this modern, not modern, this apocalyptic tribalist world that apparently is run all by women.
Yeah, that doesn't seem realistic to me. Like when the apocalypse happens, usually everything falls to anarchy and only the strong is going to take control of things.
Right.
And the reality is
not the strong-willed, mind you. The ones who can beat the crap out of everybody.
Yes, they're physically strong, the aggressive. And that's the interesting kind of concept behind an apocalyptic story, where it gives opportunity to the bad people in society who are, currently, we have, police forces and the rule of law to try and stop bad people from just taking what they want and oppressing. Even though that doesn't universally stop things, you still have things like gangs rise up, which function along those lines. Very,
right. In this world, the gangs would all be led by lesbians.
It'd be kind of funny to see that this happened because I just base everything on what happened with Chaz. All these educated liberal types will think that they're going to make this communist utopia, and then that society has fallen, and then
they can't grow tomatoes.
They can't do anything. They can't do anything these stupid uneducated farmers can do. Turns out that getting your degree in like feminist dance theory doesn't really help you grow farm food or farm animals.
Dude, that tiny little farm thing they were trying to do was so funny.
It was really. It was like they preach every day about this utopia. As long as like society falls, they become like these masters of the land. Like they can just they could just grow food. Like it's just that easy. And then That's it, right? That's like, oh yeah, that's it. And then they could put that into practice. It turns out that all their crying and preaching turned to nothing because it's not actually that easy to grow food. It's actually why we need farmers and stuff.
You know, this
That was pretty
happened
funny.
in a very much more apocalyptic way when South Africa got taken over by Nelson Mandela, because South Africa used to be the breadbasket of the African continent, and then Nelson Mandela, the communist, took over, took all the farms from the Afrikaans, the white Africans, gave them to the black Africans, who were very much like the Chaz liberals, who had no idea how to farm. And then it became like this just a basket case instead of the bread basket.
Yeah, it seems like whenever communism wants to take control of things, they don't usually they have difficulty operating things at an efficient level. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Can I add one more thing?
Yeah,
so my wife comes from a little town called Cairo, Illinois. Cairo, Illinois was known as, like, I believe it was the city with like the last lynching in America of a black man.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were, in the 60s, there were these race riots there, and Jesse Jackson and his, group of social justice warriors back then came in there, and they said they got it's like a 90% black population there, and they're like, Jesse Jackson convinced them all to boycott all of the white-owned businesses in Cairo. All of the businesses in Cairo were white-owned. And so getting the entire population to boycott all the businesses, so they ended up all like going across the river to Paducah, Kentucky to shop, right? Yeah. So all of the businesses in downtown Cairo shut down. And it was just a freaking ghost town until just a few years ago they started demolishing the buildings there. It's this social activism. I was like, stand up and take your power, and it's like, you literally just chased off everybody who provided food to us. It's what are you doing?
I mean, it's interesting just on that note. One of the things that crossed my news feed this morning was that there are a whole heap of South African white farmers that have been given, what is it called? But they've been taken in by the US, basically, because they're getting driven out of
refugees. Yeah, they were being hunted.
Yeah, well, dude, the things that have been happening to white farmers in South Africa is actually horrifying.
It's insane, right?
It's actually horrifying.
Yeah, you had politicians in South Africa saying they wanted to hunt down and kill all the white farmers.
They've been given asylum.
No, that's just a turn of phrase. Okay, doesn't mean anything.
It's a figure of speech.
The figure of speech.
And kill them. That's just a figure.
It's just
speech.
a song.
There are political leaders in South Africa screaming, "Kill all the white people!" Like it's going really scary in South Africa.
Did you have to pull that stuff with remember when everyone was chanting years ago, like in 2016 or so, it was like "Death to America, death to America." They actually tried to convince us that that's just like a saying, like
from the river to the sea. What does it?
Yeah, it's just an idiom or something.
To answer the question in the chat, it's because swords are racist now, but we will get there. Don't worry, we'll get to the Helldivers thing. We got a list of stuff, but let's finish off the discussion.
On the list, is Kanye West's new song on the list?
No, though we can briefly talk about it, perhaps. But
new song.
I really don't care. I haven't listened to it, and I don't want to listen to it.
Can you sing some of the lyrics?
No, because I don't want to get any of the lyrics stuck in my head. Let's finish off the discussion on The Last of Us, because this is an interesting topic to actually bring up, and how unrealistic and kind of forced the representation is. Now, I could see the writing on the wall in The Last of Us since season 1, and I checked out because I knew exactly where this was going. And I feel quite vindicated and satisfied seeing what season 2 has been just degenerating into. Like it has become a complete dumpster fire from everything that I've been seeing on Twitter, the reactions of people, and just what they've been trying to do. They're like, that show looks like a complete piece of crap right now. And
I don't know why I'm still watching it.
Mike, why are you still?
I don't know. I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. I'm like the guy that like I can't fall asleep unless I watch the end of the movie, whatever, even if it's like the dumbest movie on earth. I just have to watch the whole thing.
See the train wreck as it plays out.
Yeah.
But it is funny because you're saying that there's all these female leaders in the apocalypse, and that's just not going to happen. Like
Totally reasonable.
The reason why we're able to have female leaders in the modern day is because men allow it. That's actually the case. Like, you know, we're in such a civilized society that who gave women the vote? It was the men in power. It was because in the natural kind of exchange between men and women, right? Women want men to lead, and men naturally take their role because women are more vulnerable, and also especially, you know, in a family setting when they fall pregnant and they, you know, have a bit of trouble undertaking a lot of physical activity. And in any type of negotiation between anything, and especially on countries, right? The underlying threat of violence always exists. Like if the negotiation degenerates and actual conflict starts to emerge, the possibility of conflict, actual physical conflict, always is there. And the reason why women have wanted men to lead and take part in those, you know, like lead those negotiations is because men are best equipped to handle physical conflict. That's the natural like exchange, and women have wanted that in the past. That's why men have, and also men do it pretty good. And so men have naturally gravitated towards those positions of leadership, not just in an oppressive way, but in a complementary way that women were very happy with. Women have been very pleased with being protected and provided for. And that's in the kind of the complementary exchange. Then you have the oppressive kind of reality that men can physically take power by force. And in an apocalyptic setting, yeah, that's going to be kind of the thing that's going to happen, isn't it? Like
when they say apocalypse and the civilization breaking down, I just picture like Mad Max. It's going to be like this, especially like Mad Max Fury Road, where it's just kind of like this guy controls all the women, like all the beautiful women, or like his harem and stuff. That's kind of how it would go, like historically, and probably just how, you know, the most aggressive guy, the guy with the most support, the most charisma will just take over and brutally.
Genghis Khan, ring a bell.
Yeah, like that. Like...
And I find it interesting if people get offended by that reality, that if men actually wanted to, and we don't do this because most men are actually, you know, decent blokes, right? But if men wanted to, they could overtake society, right? If all the men decided, no, it's time for us to take back control of everything, they could actually do that. Like that's what I mean about the fact that we live in such a civilized society where women are able to operate in positions of leadership, which I think is fine. If a woman has actually got good policies and everything like that, I'd friggin' vote for her. I think Pauline Hanson in Australia would make a much better prime minister than Anthony Albanese.
These are the worst stage walls I've ever seen, genuinely.
But the reality is the fact that that only exists in the place because men are pretty nice blokes, and we're like, yeah, I'm willing to, you know, vote for you and other things like that. But that's the just natural reality of biology, basically. And so don't get offended by reality.
You're talking to people who don't believe in biology. I don't know.
Well, there is that, isn't there? And so I'm just wondering, like, what is the conditions in this this apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic setting in The Last of Us, where the men, like, there's such civilization still in place where the men are like, look, I think there could be situations where a female leader could rise to the top, but it would have to be under like some pretty specific, you know, circumstances where she proves her leadership is that impressive, that great. And she would honestly have to act a bit like a man as well, being able to put down any rebellious kind of factions within their own group, because that's usually what happens. You have to put down rebellious actions, usually with force, okay, to maintain leadership in an apocalyptic setting. And Mike, do they do anything like that to justify all these kind of girl bosses in The Last of Us?
Of course not.
That didn't seem like it. Is there many like the many like bad, you know, leaders in terms of male leaders leading, like, you know, all the bandits and stuff in the world?
In the world of the Last of Us, I don't know. I'm just thinking back on like the lady who sent Ellie on her way. She was like the leader of their little clique of fireflies, and then now she's in a situation again where like the leaders in this new group called the Wolves were both women. I mean, there's men there, but it just, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It just it rang so false, because where in the world do you ever have these kind of tribal issues, any kind of tribal thing where it's like we're in a desperate situation and then the leadership shows up and it's like it's all women? It just, I don't even know how to phrase it. It's just,
yeah. I mean, Nathan Cassidy touches on something
in my mind.
Yeah. Like, if the woman had a lot of loyal men to be the muscle for her, right? That could be a way that, you know, she gains power and prominence. But, you know, as soon as
but they'd have to be a whole bunch of men who would cuck out to letting a woman lead them.
Possibly.
And they would have to be alphas, right? Because they would have to be the ones that have to take on the other men that don't want her to lead.
Mm-hmm.
Men who lead in situations like that are the alphas, and they're not going to just step aside, and all the alphas are going to agree to be led by some scrawny little chick.
Well, that's the thing when it comes, like, when society breaks down and you don't have like institutions or traditions in place to kind of guide people, because like this is the way we had women rulers in the past, like women queens. They became queen because there was an institution, a practice in place that people adhered to. If you take that away, where people can just do whatever they want in an anarchy, basically, what stops the stronger people just taking control because they can? Because like they're stronger, they either want the power or they think they can do a better job, and then they can enforce their leadership through force. Okay.
I don't know. I saw Game of Thrones and I saw how quickly Jon Snow went from "I'm the king of the North" to being "my queen, you're my queen,"
my queen
for like an entire season.
But there is an institutional kind of tradition in place about monarchy where it's like, okay,
right. I'm thinking of the czars in Russia when who was the czar, Catherine the Great, right? That took over for what's his name? But that was the thing, is like he didn't have any male heirs, and so it passed on to his wife, and he wrote it into like the Constitution that he could give it over to her, and then he had his network and his system of trusted people behind her. So he built it, and then handed it to her.
And usually the thing that secures the rulership of past female rulers is usually men. It's because of they need a force of arms to secure their power, and that force of arms predominantly comes from men. Okay.
Was Catherine the Great a communist?
No. This is the Tsarist. This is Peter the Great gave it.
Well, I mean, maybe not
Peter the Great, and then gave it to Catherine the Great.
Maybe not like a official communist, but I know she didn't have sex with horses, so I assume she's a communist based on that.
This was prior to communism.
Maybe she was an early communist. the good old hammer and horse cock, you
know. So, Last of Us. Now, I've seen that clip where, what is it, Ellie says, "I'm going to be a dad."
Oh my gosh.
That was cringe. I don't know.
So much cringe.
Imagine thinking like, oh yeah, imagine someone looking at Mad Max and going, yeah, this should be this is profound, fertile ground for like anti-abortion storytelling or something like that. It'd be like this is insane. Like this is why do we need to have Last of Us be filled with gender politics? It's the apocalypse.
Exactly.
Gender politics is like when you run out of problems. That's kind of when you come down to gender politics.
Well, Exactly. Like, isn't there a trans character in this show? And I'm wondering where the heck are they getting like either
Is there a trans
hormone blockers or
I
anything?
didn't notice a trans character.
Didn't they have like a 10
hearing
trillion?
There is, so
Didn't they have like a pregnancy test, just a 10 million pregnancy test, or at least one pregnancy test? Like, where'd they get that from?
Oh, she found it in the drugstore.
There's still pregnancy tests around after all those years.
You know.
The apocalypse has been around for a while. It didn't just happen.
Yeah. Don't question the writing. There was a pregnancy test in the drugstore. Okay. And she used all of them.
Yeah, one thing I know that will be safe in the apocalypse is a drugstore. No one's going to go after all those medications.
You know what's going to be safe? All the fake meat.
They might take that too.
Impossible burgers. No, we went through this with COVID.
That's how they do trans stuff. It's like they feed you a bunch of Impossible Whoppers. Boom.
Well, I saw the writing on the roll, and I jumped ship early in season 1, and I'm feeling quite vindicated at the moment. Now, we're going to jump onto some of the main topics of the day, but we'll just quickly grab these 2 super chats. Jeffersonian Anti-Federalist for $2 says, fight scene autopsy idea. Cyrano de
Cyrano de Bergerac.
1950. I do not know this one.
You don't know Cyrano de Bergerac?
No, I don't.
Well, that guy was awesome. He's like the story of that. He helps this one handsome man get the girl of his dreams by telling him what to say. Like, the guy's handsome, but he doesn't know what to say at all to this girl. So
Cyrano has this huge monstrous nose. Oh, yeah, right there.
Yeah, he's like really ugly. So like everyone will hate him. Like, she's like, oh, he's ugly, so I don't get the girls, but I will help my buddy. I will help my bro get the girl. So that's kind of what his whole thing is.
But he actually is in love with Roxanne.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the tragedy of the whole thing. I think he gives him poetry or something like that. It's a pretty classic story. Pretty good.
Oh, I might have to look that one up.
And then Steve Martin did a modern day updated version called Roxanne, which is an awesome movie.
Hey, Wonko the Sane for $9.99 has an awesome super chat. He says, hey, Shad, I just finished Shadow of the Conqueror. Legend. That's my novel, in case people don't know. And really enjoyed it. Well done on incorporating a solid redemptive arc, which is sadly rare in modern storytelling. Yeah, that's something I really enjoyed exploring in my novel, specifically trying to push the idea of forgiveness. And to do that, needed a character who did some really bad things, a former tyrannical emperor of the past, taking a lot of inspiration from actual historical figures. I'm talking like Genghis Khan, and Stalin and Hitler, like really, really bad, right? And then it plays with the idea, could such a character or person be redeemed if they actually did truly have an honest change of heart? What could they do? Could they do anything? And is it even possible for anyone to forgive such a person who had been wronged by such an individual? And as a result, the book can be challenging for some readers, but also a lot of people have responded very positively to it. And so thank you very much, Wonko the Sane. I really do appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Okay, so something that's been going around on the Twitter sphere lately is there is a VTuber named Kirsche. Have you guys heard of Kirsche?
No. Oh, it's the VTuber lady. It's like a.
It's
did
the
she
VTuber lady?
Did she say something? Was that the clip going around where she says something about? Was it about George Floyd? Is that the lady?
Not that one. So, Kirsche, she might have been on FNT or maybe not. I'm having trouble remembering, but she's been on Geeks and Gamers a good couple of times and Side Scrollers, and she's pretty based, right? And she's also funny. But as a result, for being one of the more based VTubers, because a lot of the VTubers are insanely woke, right? People have targeted her constantly, trying to call her all the names, and that's been going on for quite a while now. And Kirsche has been very outspoken against DEI. She's also been blowing the whistle on the kind of mutated evolution of DEI, a thing called Bridge. And Bridge is basically the concept of DEI as a matter of just workplace practice, DEI everywhere, instead of a specific kind of section in the company that's, you know, part of the human resources. Bridge is like just the philosophy of DEI over everything. And it's also completely in line with the type of thing that they do, where they kind of get exposed, and all the people that are pushing it, they don't change, they just rebrand. And so everyone's speaking out against, you know, Sweet Baby Inc., DEI, feminist frequency back in the day. They just kind of give up on that marketing and rebrand under a new title, because like, what's her name? That feminist who ran Feminist Frequency, Anita Sarkeesian. She's been working behind the scenes, being consultants, doing consultancy work in gaming for years. She never like disappeared.
She's in the shadows now.
She just started working in the shadows, right? She's still spreading her poison and things. That's the nature of the beast. That's what they do. And
although what's kind of funny to see her trying to come back into relevancy with some tweets about the Mandalorian, and then just it's squashed into the dirt again.
Well, I did a reply video on that nonsense, and the video got like 1 million views.
It was good.
Glorious. Speaking of which, this is, I don't know, like mini kind of segue. My last video on Shadiversity has 500,000 views. That one, that just
nice.
Well. Yeah, pretty pleased. Like, and it's not a topic that I would expect. It's me reacting to an anime called From Old Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman, and it has some realistic medieval swordsmanship in it. And so we talk about it. We kind of review those parts in this video, and holy crap, is that video taken off! And it's only been out like 2 days, and it's at 500,000 views. I'm like, I'll take it. I don't know what this freaking algorithm, man. This algorithm has just been destroying me like in the past year. And then something random happens, and it's like the algorithm's like, oh, I'll promote this one, and I have no idea why. It's the same type of video I've been making for years, but
for years,
like genuinely. So. You know, I appreciate people, you know, that they like the video. But I just wanted to comment on that because I got distracted. So going back to this Kirsche stuff, right? She has a lot of haters. And that alone is a phenomenon that I have trouble properly understanding, where people get so obsessively focused on a single creator, where they go out of their way to try and destroy them, and they can't get them out of it. You'll end up living rent-free. I've certainly got my own collection of people that are just like this, and they congregate, and then they just actively work at trying to destroy your life. I don't understand how your life could be so empty that you would fill it with such obsessive hate like that. But okay, and Kirsche, she has a large, and so people have been doing this against her for ages. And the background is she commentates on pop culture stuff as well, and she there's been a video game where she had been promoting and enjoying a bit. It's called Crime Boss, and the people in the company seem to appreciate, you know, her attention that she gave the game. And it seems like there might have been collaborations done. There were even talk behind the scenes of making her a character in the game, right? And so she was pretty involved in all of this. And then a hater of Kirsche did an article, and I can't remember where the article, it might have been on like Vice or some nonsense piece of crap, you know, something like that. Making a hit piece article against Kirsche, you know. And it seems like it was calling her all the names under the sun, you know, because she's an awful sexist, racist, bigot, homophobe, all the names, right? Or at least implying it. Yeah. Chad is saying it was Vice. That's what I thought. And in response, the people who run Crime Boss have disassociated. We will not be doing anything with VTuber Kirsche anymore. Too much of a problematic person, basically. So they got concern trolled. And it's like, hang on, you've had a really productive, you know, association and collaboration with this VTuber, this, you know, content creator in the past. And it takes one pathetic hit piece of bullcrap to make them completely cut ties. And
you
I've
get
had
a
some-
contract. You get
Sorry,
a
what?
like you get a contract with like a kill fee or something. Like something like, okay, you're a coward that's going to be chased away by social media. Well, then you pay me $100,000 or something, something like that. These would be consequences for, just dropping someone like that, because it's inconvenient for the person being dropped, of course. And so there needs to be some compensation there. Like, okay, you can drop me, but you have to give me something in return.
So Good Pigeon in chat actually mentioned something interesting. They say, Kirsche not long ago broke down an earlier article from that journalist that was a hit piece on another VTuber. So that first article was a revenge hit piece. Very interesting, that comment. I haven't confirmed that. And so as much as that sounds accurate, and I do appreciate the input, it's the internet. You just can't take every single comment at face value, though that one does sound like it's got some validity to it, because the person who wrote the article definitely has an axe to grind against Kirsche. Like, it was a hit piece that again, we're getting confirmation. Nathan Catch says, yep, Side Scrolls has done a deep dive on this guy. And this person, I think they're a trans person, and I was watching Flashcast on the weekend, and a video clip of this person who wrote the article has surfaced of them saying some really heinous stuff. Like this clip was, if I try and paraphrase it, it was seemed to be saying that they were looking forward to a future where trans people could rape straight people and destroy that, pussy and stuff. It's a really weird video. And that's me trying to remember it, so I might have gotten one or two things wrong. But this person, it was like the cis women's breeding pens for troons. It was crazy. They were promoting cis women breeding facilities for troon people, and so
they're the ones that want a Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, exactly.
It was really creepy. And Chad is saying that they saw this as well.
Remember that one feminist lady who's like, men should be kept in like buildings and checked out like library books? It kind of reminds me of that.
Holy crap. So this is the type of people, right, that are on this side. And not only, because look, we all have crazies on every side, it seems like, but these crazies seem to be uplifted into positions of prominence where they can write hit piece articles to try and destroy people's lives, it seems like. And so this person wrote a hit piece against Kirsche, and Crime Boss cancelled, disassociated. I've had things like this happen to me where, lying scumbag concern trolls reach out to associations I have saying, I'm a terrible person, you don't want to associate with them. And then those people are friggin' cowards, cuck out, believe all this nonsense, and cut every tie. So Matt Easton of Scholar Galatoria did that against me. We had like this brilliant, meet up, right, where we collaborated, made all these videos, and he was so friendly and cordial with me. He gave me a hug, right, when we first met, because we've associated for years. The day after, he gets concern trolled, and he just throws me under the bus.
It's called love bombing, Shad.
The friggin' coward. And he didn't reach out for me to get context on anything, ask my side on this. Nothing like that. And he went as far to insinuate that I'm a racist, homophobic bigot, and all that bull crap. Okay. And what really amazes me about my situation, right, is that he actually doesn't care that I'm a Christian conservative. And he says, like, I have friends who are Christian conservatives and everything like that. The thing that triggered him to pull the plug in association with me was the fact that I was outspoken about it, and there was a hate mob against me.
It's and okay he was believe something, just don't say it.
Exactly. Don't just you can believe it, just don't come out of the closet and speak out about it. That's
but only if you're not far left. If you're not far left, shut up. If you are far left, you can say whatever you want. Those are the rules.
Basically, yes, right? And so it wasn't a position of principle that he actually found what I was saying so offensive. It was because he was afraid of the hate mob, which means he didn't have any principles at all. He just capitulated like a coward.
I don't know how many times I've said it on this show, but 99% of people are cowards.
Seems like that.
That's why the word hero exists.
Yeah.
It's not easy to be a hero.
Nope. It's real easy to be a coward.
Can't spell hero without he.
There's no I in team, but there's 2 in winner.
Well, like, I have trouble understanding cowards, okay? Because I've been raised to value a sense of self-worth, you know, to like the person you are means act like the person you want to be, okay? Act with principle. And my natural like instinct and default, and this has been, I guess, because I've always been on the outside, because I was raised as a Mormon and I believe it. I found out it was true for myself and I stood up for those principles. And so all through high school, I was always on the outside because of that. And I always had to stand up for what I believe in, even if it made me unpopular. Even from a very young age, that was just by like a condition of my life, to the point where now it's kind of like a reflex where if I see the crowd push one way and I think that's uninformed or incorrect or based on a falsehood, I naturally speak up and push against it. It's the whole reason why I started to speak out against the backlash against AI art, because everyone was calling it theft and plagiarism and all these things. And I looked into it and I was like, it's actually not based on the law that we have and even standard moral principle. It's equivalent to what artists have done. And so that's just what I do. But I guess, you know, not everyone is like that. They follow the crowds, which is, and look, that's a little depressing in reality. Because I am seeing that more and more these days, especially with the rise of parasocial relationships. And oh my gosh, it seems like a lot of people, and I encourage everyone to not be like this. And don't be like this with me or anything. Don't let others think for you. Okay. But we're getting
most people will let other people think for them. We lived through COVID. It wasn't that long ago.
COVID was a depressing, I guess it exposed human nature to a depressing level of how many people are willing to give up their freedom and be oppressed and just go along with the narrative, the bull crap.
Not just give up their freedom, but give up their neighbor too.
Yes, I'll report their neighbors for wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it was a depressing
rate of terror style stuff. Like our neighbors did not get the COVID vaccine, so you know, fire them from their job and let them die.
Yeah.
If they stub their toe or something, they just they don't get to the hospital.
I really did. Like we think we're so enlightened, we've come such a long way, and you know, all the bad people in the past, you know, Nazi Germany, right, ragging, reporting their neighbors for, they've got someone hiding under the floorboards or something like that, or they were listening to the wrong broadcast on the radio and stuff like that. We are enlightened. We're so much better than them, and then something comes along and it looks like humans haven't changed. We're nearly identical to the way we were in the past. We haven't learned from our mistakes the last resort. It's sad.
And again, that is all based on cowardice, because those people were making all those decisions out of fear.
Yep.
They wouldn't stand up for themselves. They wouldn't stand up for their family. They wouldn't stand up for the truth. They just cowered in fear, afraid of what the government was going to do to them, or afraid of catching the flu. It was depressing, but it was very much.
It exposed that humans have not actually really learnt that much. We're still fall into the same foibles and failures of the past, and willing to just believe propaganda to the point of insanity as just like unhinged. People became unhinged to anyone who was just speaking at mild protest. Can't we wait until this vaccine is tested a little bit more? There's no guarantee that there aren't negative side effects from this thing. Cancelled. And that's not an unreasonable take to just voice this stuff. We're getting a little off topic.
Either go to the hospital, denied. Sit down. You go to work, you need money, denied. Sit down. Want to visit your dying grandma in the hospital? She dies alone on the ventilator. Denied. Sit down.
Man. Look, let's try and bring it back to Kirsche. We have a good comment here. It's like Mad Engineer says it's worse than that for Kirsche. The hit piece was targeted at gamer subs and some other sites with their merch. Tagged multiple times. Crime Boss dropped her preemptively without being mentioned. Holy crap. Cowards. That's how this is related. The people at Crime Boss, friggin' cowards. And it's not about principle. They probably, like, I bet a whole heap of people in the company actually agree with Kirsche and anyone pushing back against this, you know, woke nonsense, right? But the people at the head, right, you know, they don't actually, you know, probably think about the principle too much. They're afraid of the hate mob. And what's so frustrating about this, the hate mob only has as much power as you give it to them. If you ignore them, they are impotent and weak. Okay, like the hate mob that has been coming after me for over a year now, right? Trying to actually destroy my life and everything. And have done some really scummy things. Okay, they're powerless and weak. You know, look at that. A video just had 500,000 views on my channel. And it's like, maybe the struggles on my channel is more because of the YouTube algorithm and the meta that's happening on it. Because these people, they try, and if you ignore them, they can't do anything. And I'm quite happy to ignore them in that. That's
exactly what happened when they tried to almost castrate Burt Ward for the Batman series that he used to have with Adam West, because a bunch of at that time was a bunch of Catholics, like right-wing Catholic types. So like we don't want to see their bulges on this show because you know, it was like they revolted against the bulges, and so they was like, okay, we don't want to get in trouble because what they're going to they delivered an ultimatum. The ultimatum was if you don't get rid of the bulges on these men, well then they're supposed to be like Ken dolls. So we're going to go ahead and we'll do basically an early form cancel mob. And we're going to bombard the TV station to make them cancel the show if you don't do what we say. And so they gave Burt Ward these. They told him we're pills to shrink his testicles.
What?
And he's like, okay. And he took one and he felt awful. And it turns out that they weren't to shrink his balls; they were chemical castration pills.
Oh my god!
Adam West was like, "No, don't take those." And so they said, "No, we're not doing it." And so they eventually decided to like not do anything about it. And so the cancel mob people were like, "Okay, we warned you," and they went to the station and they said, "Stop showing that show because it's indecent." And the station's like, "Are you insane? This is like the highest rated show out there." Nothing happened.
Exactly. Like so many of these cancel, you know, brigades only have the power that people give to them if they capitulate.
Could you imagine if like Burt Ward actually did go through with it and lost his balls?
Holy crap, man.
Turns out he didn't need to do that.
Yeah. And like same with the people who concerned trolled Matt Easton. If he just ignored them, we would still have a friendly association, like bouncing back, sending viewership to each other, stuff like that, and be in a better spot. Okay. And nothing would have happened to him if you just ignored him. And in fact, he probably would have gotten a bit of props for sticking behind someone who was a friendly, you know, associate. Like back
but now you know he's not someone you want to associate with it.
Well, yeah, now his true colors have been revealed, right? And the true colors have been revealed of Crime Boss, the people that have now basically tried to cut Kirsche off completely and don't want a thing to do with it. But guess what? The world is a-changing. How do you think that turned out for Crime Boss?
Not too good, I would imagine. By the way, if you don't get Crime Boss, buy Payday 2 or 3 instead. Right?
Well,
excellent games.
Let's look at this clip. This is Asmongold talking a bit about it, and this is the Crime Boss Steam page. Let's see what he's checking out.
On the top right,
Let me raise that volume.
where is the graph?
Looking for the reviews.
I'm not show graph.
Uh-oh.
Sure.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh dear. Would you look at that?
Look at his face. Look at his whoa.
Yeah, I know. It's like, holy crap.
If it isn't free fall.
If it isn't the consequences of their own actions coming back to bite them, who would have
Actually I had that? I think I had that on my wish list to get someday, I think. because it reminded me of Payday, which is the game I prefer. Buy Payday instead. All right, Payday 2, you can play as John Wick, and it's pretty cool.
Are you getting paid for this?
No, I just like the game. I should. Like, I get a promotion.
Now, I don't know if this is going to have further negative kind of impacts on the business, but people are letting their, displeasure with the company be heard. And the recent negative reviews are, kind of a sign of that. And, interesting, like Kirsche, she promoted the game a lot. So maybe a decent portion of her fan base were playing the game. And then you cancel the thing that introduces a large number of your fans to the game, disassociate with them, and they're unhappy. Who would have thought? Sorry, that cold, my throat. I need to kind of give it a rest now and then. So
free fall reviews. This was what they get. It's totally fair, I think, because they drew in a lot of eyes contracting with this VTuber, and probably a lot of people bought it in anticipation, saying like, okay, my favorite VTuber is going to be on this game, and then it's like, okay, we have disassociated ourselves from this VTuber based on a random internet hate mob. All right, well, I bought the game because of that, so. Now I'm going to give you a review. You're just desserts. I'm going to get you what you deserve.
Well, look at what Cody Krieger in the comments says. Best part, these aren't new reviews. These are old reviews from people with dozens to hundreds of hours changing positive reviews to negative.
Oh, man, that sucks.
Oof. You get what you deserve, though, crime boss. You friggin' cowards. You pack of cowards. And I think this is, totally related to their business. Okay. This is the game disassociating someone for unfair reasons. Now, has the quality of the game changed necessarily? No, I guess no. But if you find out that people making the game hate you or, hate someone that, promoted and stuff like that, the market is perfectly entitled to share their displeasure on that.
I feel like every right, we have every right to hate them in return. Feels about right.
Yeah. Look at this. They're not cowards. These people are just plain malicious. All right. And this is the interesting thing because Last of Us season 1 it kind of ties in with this. The first 3 episodes were actually decent. It wasn't a terrible show. Then episode 4 happened in season 1, and I could see the writing on the wall. Oh, this is about propaganda. This is made by people who actually despise traditional values, the things that I hold up and promote. And the people making this probably would despise me. It's like, I could see the writing on the wall. This is not made for me. I'm done. And I can say that the parts of the show was actually decent, but finding out that this is made by people that, don't even want my viewership. And it's related to another topic we might segue into. They don't want our business. And so then they don't get it. And even if this game has some merit to it in terms of its quality, the developers, the people behind it, has just revealed what they actually think of a good portion of their audience by this move. So don't support people that hate you. Pretty much as simple as that. This is as much of a backfire as it can get. Interesting that I had a comment. Here it is. So let me share this. Doctor Who actress tells fans to get over the show's extreme woke content because it's pure and beautiful.
No, it's ugly. Woke is ugly. Woke is 100% ugly. It's never been beautiful in its entire existence. It is an ideology that is dedicated to ugly.
Dedicated on hate.
It's dedicated. It's built on envy.
Yeah,
it's anti-human. It's very anti-human.
It's some of the people who promote it, some of the most hateful, racist people I've ever come across. Like genuinely, awful stuff. And so she's saying the woke content is pure and beautiful, and this reminds me of that comment it was the trans in the this version of Doctor Who, where they said For every fan that we lose who hates diversity, we will gain 3 more that love it. But I'm paraphrasing it, but something like that. And like, really? How's it going, Doctor Who, with your viewership? Just the worst viewership you've ever had, basically? It's something close to that. The show's get cancelled now, isn't it? Like, they're not renewing it for anything more.
Are they not? That's funny.
Nah, yeah, it is dead.
I hate that freaking that bait and switch. It's not about diversity. Wokeism isn't about diversity, you know? It's about replacement. It's about just
using diversity as a bludgeon.
Yeah.
It uses all these political talking points as like easy to or feel good bludgeons. Like you feel good supporting it. It gives you a feel good vibe. It's saying, yeah, I support this and I support that. But they're using it as a bludgeon to tear down society so they can replace it with something else. That's supposition. That's literally what they say.
Yeah.
In chat, Janice says Dave Cullen joked that he'd start using pure and beautiful instead of stunning and brave.
That's how they rebranded it. Instead of stunning and brave, pure and beautiful.
That's what they do, though. We talked about it. It's like as soon as they get exposed, that their rhetoric get exposed, they just try and rebrand and shift to something different, right? Where woke used to be their thing.
So did SJW. SJW was their thing.
Yep. DEI wants to change to bridge. Woke, they wanted wonder what they're going to try and rebrand that, because woke was the rebrand from SJW.
Fake news was theirs too. They started fake news. And then we started using a term against them. Now, like, oh, that's a right-wing propaganda term. Like, we just kind of forgot all about the fact that they came up with that term to begin with. Fake news.
Yeah, that was Trump though, because he just came right out at CNN and he's like, "No, you are fake news."
Yeah, and then they turned it around on him, and then they started like going with the narrative that, oh, it was Trump who made that up. Trump made fake news as a term to disparage all the other terms. It was them. They made that news. Because after the election, they kind of made the term fake news to label all the right-wing YouTubers and everything who were talking about politics and stuff. So to watch out for fake news, this was called fake news. Right, they're going to label like Sargon Akkad and all these like Daily Wire. It's all fake news, they said.
Mm-hmm. Oh, just on the you brought up
state-approved news is what they're saying.
You brought up Carl Benjamin, Sargon, mate, brilliant dude. He's killing it. So his channels recently got remonetized, Akkad Daily and Sargon of Akkad, and so he's been posting on it, and he's getting great views on those channels, man.
It was weird. Like wasn't he like he was doing everything right, and they just demonetized him for no reason. And then he came back finally. They got him remonetized.
Well, he was just getting targeted because of who he was, basically. It all started when he was deplatformed off of Patreon, because an older clip arose of him calling white nationalists, and he was trying to use their own rhetoric against them. And everyone who saw the context saying, well, is not racist, is trying to spin their own, rhetoric on their face, because it's talking to actual white supremacists. And he called them, he said to them that they're acting like white N-words, and to try and expose their own hypocrisy. And everyone who saw it was like, okay, what's the issue? But that got him kicked off of Patreon. And ever since then, he's basically been by many, like, they wanted to deplatform him, but, it wasn't even justification for him to be deplatformed off Patreon, but they would demonetize him. And so his main channel got demonetized, and he actually made Akkad Daily as kind of trying to just restart the channel from Sargon of Akkad, and it was doing really well, and then it got demonetized, nuked. And that these were people trying to destroy his livelihood, right? Mm-hmm. And then he started the Lotus Eaters, which is his own independent news company with its own subscriber support, and that is doing phenomenal. Lotus Eaters are just killing it with their content, and it's become really successful, and it's just brilliant. All power to him.
He's not the only one. Doug TenNapel got his channel back too.
Yeah. So this is really interesting. After the election of Trump, a whole range of channels quietly got remonetized. And Carl, he's spoken a little bit about this. He didn't say that. I don't think they targeted him specifically. Hey, we need to remonetize him because we mistreated him. I think it was just them doing this blanket thing because they want more money. It's like, well, why are all these channels demonetized? Oh, we don't actually. They didn't have a reason to demonetize him. He tried to appeal it, and they couldn't give him any specifics, like something like, oh, there's something bad in this video here. If you remove that, we'll remonetize. They gave him nothing. It was just because they disliked the guy, nothing specific. And it seems like YouTube, because like if they demonetize enough channels, they make less money. And so YouTube just wanting to make more money is like, you don't have any reasons for all these channels being demonetized, we'll just remonetize them. It seems that that's the case.
Doug wasn't demonetized. Doug's channels were gone. They were completely deleted, and they gave him back his channels, all his videos, and all his subscribers.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Maybe I would like to think
CEO. The new CEO, you think?
I don't know. I would like to think that this is in relation to Trump and YouTube learning from its mistakes or something like that, because I like sword content for me has been getting deranked, like aggressively deranked, and I don't know why. I can only speculate. Is it people's interest changing? But the thing is, though, I looked at the analytics and I knew that wasn't the case. The reason why my videos had been struggling is because they were getting fewer impressions. That's literally YouTube choosing not to recommend my videos as much. Like the ratio of views to impressions was the same of my videos that are getting less views to my large videos, which meant my audience is just as interested in watching my content. YouTube was literally not recommending it as much. And the haters were saying, oh, it's because, your content sucks or you alienated your audience. It's like, that's not accurate to the analytics, because I would get the occasional video that would get like 200,000 views. And if my audience had left, that should be impossible. And guess what? The videos that got more views directly correlated to impressions. If my audience had left, it wouldn't matter. I could get huge amounts of impressions. And if my audience wasn't there, then I would get no views. But it was a direct correlation, okay, where higher impressions, higher views, audience just as interested in watching it. And then just a couple of days ago, I have a video now that hit 500,000 views because I don't know why, but the YouTube has decided to promote it, push it. And as I've been saying for like over a year now, is if the algorithm just bothered to recommend my content, my audience loves it just as much. It's just as high quality. And now recently, that's exactly what happened. The YouTube bothered to recommend one of my videos, 500,000 views. Would you look at that? Vindication. Okay. That's my audience. Look, there 500,000 people. That's where my audience has been there the whole time. Just needed the YouTube to bother pushing it. But that is a very recent thing. And I do not know if there's a change in the algorithm that caused it or if this is a blip.
There is. I think there's videos that come out studying this stuff where it's not your subscriber count doesn't actually matter anymore. Because they don't recommend it to your subscribers. It's about like basically they're kind of go with how good the video is, like how much traction it gets. So it'll target your every viewer's specific tastes and like, oh, you like that one? Well, you'll like this one. So that way even newer channels can get some promotion through all the big guys. I think that's what their idea is.
So you're kind of correct. So the way that because I've listened to a whole heap of YouTube gurus who have insider information and they're talking about this, and you're absolutely right, where they've all been saying subscribership doesn't matter at all. It's a vanity metric. Like literally my YouTube rep, the person who works at YouTube, literally told me the subscriber count is a vanity metric now. It doesn't mean a thing. And for niche content creators like me, like I make sword content, very niche stuff, right? That's actually devastating because sword content will never be as popular with mainstream content. It's niche. And so the way that it was able to prosper was through the subscribe. People would subscribe saying, I like this niche content, recommend it to me. YouTube would then recommend my videos to my subscribers to a high degree. Now subscribership doesn't matter, and the YouTube algorithm is trying to balance my content versus mainstream content. And instead of looking at my audience, what they like, they're looking at what everyone on the platform is watching. And of course, my videos aren't going to be as popular as the mainstream ones. And so the mainstream ones are the ones that get recommended more. And so that's what it's been like for like a year now. But the thing is, though, I still have had videos that do pretty good when they get recommended. And so it's not necessarily that an audience doesn't like my content or is interested in my content. They are. It's just that YouTube has been prioritizing other content. And I think that's other content that has more broader appeal and more reach. And the niche channels have just been getting nuked. I did a video on this. I did a video called Sword Channels Are Dead, but I share a whole heap of clips of heaps of other niche channels saying something's changed at YouTube. It's absolutely destroying my views and stuff. So this wasn't me just noticing it. I saw this happening for over a year. Now, with this really successful video, I don't know if that's signs of anything changing. Like I said, I've had the occasional video that's done all right when YouTube bothers to recommend it. It could be that. We'll have to wait. I would love it if something has changed in the algorithm where, because you see all these other, channels being remonetized and doing pretty good. Okay. And so if I'm in that bag, I'll friggin' take that. Be happy to, accept that thing, because so many changes usually work to the negative. But on the topic of swords in my channel, this one crossed my feed and I'm a little confused about it. Okay. So Helldivers 2 next war bond will let you look even more fascist than normal. Adds in a literal sword. And I'm confused. I'm very confused by this comment. Gentlemen, can you help me understand this? How does having a sword make you look more fascist?
I always thought a bundle of sticks made you look more fascist.
Yeah, because it's a fascia, with an X on it. But I think axes, it should be axes, with the things that orcs have. But that's kind of, I guess, because is it a European sword? Is that what they think? Like European equals fascism, I think, in their eyes.
I don't know. If swords make you look more fascist, holy crap, my whole channel is about swords. I must be the most fascist person on the internet at this point because I've got so many swords. It's insane. This is news to me. I didn't know. But is that why people have been targeting me and saying all these awful, evil things about me that aren't true? They're trying to say I'm this horrible, bigoted person because I got swords.
How good of an outlet can this be? The article writer's picture is a selfie. What is this trash website?
I'm so confused. Like, is it because it might be a European sword, and if it was a katana-like sword, though this is more of a European-style medieval katana. There's a sneak peek in here. What is this? That's all you get. That's all you get.
Katanas are imperialist, not fascist. Hello.
If the beef has a really good observation here. This fascist is being cool now. I think that's kind of where we're going with it. It used to be like, we had awesome, and then we had we had tubular or whatever. And then we had cool from the 90s, which stayed because it was awesome, and because everything from the 90s is awesome mostly. And now we have fascist, bro. Those glasses are total fascist, bro. Like it's gonna be cool now.
I don't know. I'm just so confused because swords are cool. You add swords to anything, instantly becomes more cool.
No, Shad, swords are fascist, and that is a new term for cool, apparently.
I do wonder if it's the medieval sword. Would they say the same if it was like a katana?
Or like a scimitar or something, right? They probably would.
Yeah, because those are diverse swords.
Yeah, those are diversity swords.
Exactly.
They all pale in comparison to the girthy, broad, heavy, thick European longsword.
Oh, and I mean, I prefer the longsword and European swords for multiple objective qualities. This isn't just a bias. I do like the look of them, which is subjective, but there's practical things to consider. Having a second edge on a sword makes it vastly more versatile, and you can incorporate reverse edge cutting, which is a more versatile and faster kind of exchange rate in terms of the strikes that you can do with swords. Okay, that's an objective quality that gives them a unique benefit and advantage. The crossguard is an objective quality that offers more protection and versatility in both defense and offense than many other types of swords. These are objective reasons why I like European swords. I still love the katana. Heck, I even collaborating and might be developing something along those lines. I think it's a beautiful sword, but from a functional combat perspective, I think one has an overall edge. I'm not saying that like other swords, because man, the scimitar is such a freaking deadly cutter. I'm talking about the Shamshir, right? I've reviewed them on my channel, and crazy good at cutting. And so I'm not saying other swords don't have advantages. I'm saying on balance, I find medieval swords have more, objective advantages than a lot of other types of swords. That's why my favorite. Does that make me a sword supremacist?
I don't know.
Makes you wrong.
Well, aren't you more favorable toward like the European sword? Are European swords made with superior genetic makeup? Superior metal.
Superior metal.
I think you had a whole video on that, right?
I have indeed. So, is it because I favor this type of sword because of objective reasons? Okay,
because the European
not
swords
because
are
of the race that made them, but is it because it is of European origin? How dare you prefer something that was made by the white man? Is that what we're...
It's not Europeans' fault that they've made the master race of swords. Okay.
Well, if you think about it,
the superior metal,
superior design.
The list just goes on.
Goes on and on.
Speaking of Kanye,
is the long sword the master race of swords? I don't know. I mean, I have done a video.
There's your next video.
I've done a video on what is the best sword, all right? And the long sword is my pick, and I give objective reasons for it. And just to give Mike a bone, like the katana is a gorgeous sword. It can do some impressive things better than it's a better cutter than the average longsword. When you get the right longsword, you can actually get a longsword that can cut just as well as a katana, even a bit better. But on balance, the katana is really good.
Well, it's
not as good.
It's not just the katana; it's the actual martial art.
Hang on. Are you
It's
saying
not the
that there's no
size, it's how you use
European sword-based martial arts, Mike? What are you saying there, sir?
He's saying it's how you use it.
Swinging swords around like a baseball bat versus somebody.
Don't you dare say that, Mike. That's why one of the things that people really appreciate about my video that just but took off on Shadiversity is the fact that an anime has incorporated medieval swordsmanship in it, like actual medieval martial arts swordsmanship to an accurate level. And it's showing that these are sophisticated weapons that aren't baseball bats, Mike, that can be used, are supposed to be used with finesse and incorporating the back edge and stuff. And I had a heck of a fun time making the video because I got to demonstrate why it's so good and how it works with actual swordsmanship. And it seems like people appreciate it. They really like the video. There's my next video coming out is debunking. It's in the same vein as like, are there unique benefits to certain swords over other swords? And something that the katana has often been granted as having been like better. It can do this better than other swords is in cutting from the sheath. You draw the sword from the sheath and perform a cut at the same motion, right?
Because it's
you know what I'm talking about? Well, Mike. They say the katana can do it better because it's curved. You should see my next video, Mike. We put that to the test. And the results, Mike. They might trigger you.
Did you happen to get someone who was an expert at kendo to do that?
They don't do draw cuts in kendo, Mike. You're thinking about kenjutsu.
Okay.
Yeah, kendo is the one where they use
sword versus a straight sword.
Yes, actually. And it's a fun video. I'm looking but the results are genuinely, not what you expect. Not what you expect in terms of which sword. And I'm not saying the katana isn't awful, but there are other swords that you can do draw cuts better. But we're not just comparing longsword and katana. We also compare scimitar or shamshir in it. Messer, Kriegsmesser, we compare that in draw cutting. And we also compare different types of longswords, like specifically ones with much wider hilts and bases of the blade. And the results are interesting. So that's coming out. But the takeaway is that swords are cool. They're not fascist just because
swords
there is distinct.
Cool. That's not even a subjective opinion. That's just
that's just thank you, Mike. That is an objective reality. And just because there are some swords that are objectively superior to other swords, doesn't No joke. There are people that have tried to racialize sword information, sword classifications. I'm not kidding. I've had some, watched some people who have unironically said that the scimitar is a racist term for categorizing a name of sword. Now, the guy that said it, I think, is actually mostly informed guy and knows what he's talking about. But on that one, I disagreed quite strongly. It's like, because it's just, I guess, in the same notion of people always trying to racialize everything, because they were trying to say scimitar is a broad term that refers to a family of swords. And I think the vein, something along the lines of, because you're not referring to these group of swords by their actual ethnic identification or names, and you're just referring to them as scimitar, you are invalidating the kind of racial identity or cultural identity of these swords, and therefore it's a racist term. And it's just like, or it could just be an umbrella term, because we do that with other things. Great sword. Very few swords are actually called great sword historically.
I mean, honestly, most people do it with katana. They just call any Japanese sword a katana.
Yeah. Katana in its origin actually just means sword, or curved sword, I should say, curved sword.
So they're all actually correct, technically speaking.
Technically, but we're talking about in terminology. We've used umbrella terms for groups of swords all the time. Great sword is a perfect example. Specifically, great swords were Zweihander, Montante, stuff like that, right? Those are their actual names. But great sword is a really useful term to just all the swords of similar size and shape. Let's put them in a group and we'll call it great sword. And that's the same what we do with scimitar. Scimitar refers to usually Middle Eastern, almost Asian kind of, because the Indian talwar is often classified as a scimitar as well. Very, very curved. Has some similarities to the shamshir. And just which grouped it as their scimitars. And so the same thing with great swords, same thing with falchion even, actually, because falchion refers to a whole wide range of swords. Even tower shield is another good example of this, because tower shield, well, refers to a number of shields. And my brain just went dead because I'm sick. And like, it's the, Pavis or Pavese is a tower shield. But certain types of Kai shield are also tower shields as well. The Roman scutum. My brain is like I'm sick, okay? All tower shields in its category. And so, like I said, like this is actually a common practice to use umbrella terms as saying singling out scimitar as a face term, But it's not, like I said, it's not the first time people have kind of tried to impose a racial connotation or judgment on just sword terminology and identification. And now, if it's, well, look, they don't specifically single out medieval swords as being racist. They just say swords are racist, but it seems like that's what they're thinking, doesn't it? Like that. I'm not sure they would have called a katana, like a fascist sword. Though, if you look at the history, if you look at the history of the Japanese governmental structure, would it be more fair to say that more fascists have used the katana than people have used the medieval swords? Mike, what do you think? No.
The Japanese weren't fascists; they were imperialists.
Much more fascisty than a lot of other,
I'm just thinking that how much if you replace all the uses of the word fascist that leftists use, incorrectly, with the word cool, how much of a more positive place Twitter will suddenly become. Well, that guy's a cool guy.
Imperialism is more like monarchism than fascism.
They had a very strict caste system that was very.
They let themselves some emperor guys. Love that emperor.
They all believe the emperor was God or a god.
Yeah, which leans itself more authoritarian, social practices.
Right. But in the same way, you could say that kings were authoritarian too. So it's like it's not.
Kings could be authoritarian.
Yeah, fascism is a different beast.
But
fascism is closer to socialism.
It seems like there was much more capacity to push back against monarchical power, especially with like the formation of the Magna Carta and things like that, when, you know, there was such rebellion under King John, that it started to lend itself to forming a system of much more liberty and freedom to its people than what you generally see in imperialism, right? Because the formation of English common law was foundational in setting up personal freedom and liberty, and it's the foundation of democracy, essentially.
Yeah, but you wouldn't call pre-Magna Carta Europe fascist.
No. Well, in some cases you could. Depending on the king. That's the thing. Monarchy can be like really good or really bad, depending on the monarch. And I guess you could say the same with imperialism. But if you look at the history of Japan in particular, there was a lot of more kind of authoritarian, you know, oppression happening, it seems like, or my own kind of cursory observations, right? Where, yeah, there was some nasty stuff. And then you could just go to, you know, early 20th century Japan, where, yeah, I think you could call them a bit more fascist than certain other groups. So I'm just saying, Mike, the katana is clearly the fascist
I just
sword.
think they were imperialist in a time where imperialism should have probably already been extinguished.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think monarchism is very much just imperialist, so I don't get the difference.
No, I think monarchy has more it evolved to having more power to the people because of the feudal structure, especially
when it became more democratic. That's moving away from monarchy. But before that, it was
monarchy can operate pretty good with democratic kind of practices partially adopted. It's an interesting thing. But but would you concede that the katana is a more fascist sword? Yeah. If fascist means cool, Mike.
If fascist means cool.
Well,
if fascist means cool now, remember?
Well, then clearly, I mean,
clearly,
it's the most fascist sword.
Wow, thank you. We got him to say it. I'm clipping that.
Speaking of
total, that sword is total Nazis, bro. Total Nazis.
Total Nazis. So, have any
Can someone
of you
sing a few bars of Kanye's song now?
No. Have any of you gentlemen watched Andor?
Oh, I haven't seen the new season yet. No.
So, did you like season 1?
Yeah,
I watched the first episode.
All right. If you like season 1, you'll very likely enjoy season 2.
Good.
So you probably will enjoy season 2. There is a discussion happening on whether Andor is good or not. And I genuinely feel this very much depends on...
Well, you didn't like season 1.
I did not like season 1. And I consider it bad for the type of kind of things that I value in entertainment. And this is where people draw their metrics, because I know Critical Drinker really likes Andor season 2. I think it's one of the better or even best things Disney Star Wars have made. And I think I could even give it that actual charity that it might be the least worst thing Disney Star Wars have made. It takes itself seriously, and there are definitely good moments in it. The thing that kind of breaks it for me, which is why I consider it bad, is the entertainment and engaging quality of the primary characters, specifically Andor. I think I forget his name, but he's like the guy who's orchestrating the kind of espionage. I think he's a really cool, interesting character.
Skarsgård?
Yeah, but we don't see him enough. He barely appears. All right. And as to like Andor and Bix, I find them really bland and boring and uninteresting. And then there's the fact that there is so much just stretched out filler nonsense, useless storytelling, where you have like rebels playing rock, paper, scissors to determine grab that stretched over like several episodes, like several like, and there's a section in the show where there's this plot of a wedding. It's the first 3 episodes, I think, where we're following the plot of this wedding. And what they're leading to is interesting, but they stretch it over 3 episodes where a lot of it is pointless, boring, useless crap. That's how I kind of, perceive that, right? But what it led to is interesting, like to protect a rebellion, should you kill someone who is not really innocent, but not really evil either, but he might turn on them and the entire rebel cause could be destroyed. And it's leading to that conflict. That's a really interesting conflict. But they stretch it over 3 episodes and it takes ages to get there.
The conflict is they have this guy who could ruin the rebellion.
Well, in the first 3 episodes, yeah. He was instrumental in helping them launder money or funnel money to the rebellion, setting up this charity that they can use as a front and all this stuff. It was instrumental, but his life is getting ruined. His business is getting ruined, and he wants some help. He wants some financial help. He wants some kickback from the rebellion, and he almost sounds like he's ready to blackmail them for them to give him money. And they talk about, we will talk about it. We'll find what your price is and stuff like that. And the Skarsgård's character basically he's too much of a risk. He could ruin everything. And in that situation, the conflict is, was it just or tactically necessary to off the guy, right? That's an interesting conflict. Again, took 3 episodes to get there. And there's so much background, there's all this stretched out stuff about the daughter. Does she want to get married? Anything like that I don't give a crap about. Okay.
That's kind of what my problem with season 1. That's why I only watched 1 episode. Is because it's pretty cool, interesting, inciting incident where you have Andor having to kill these 2 Imperials because they're onto him, and he has to kill them so they can stay quiet. And then he knows okay, they're probably going to search me down, come after me. And I'm oh, this is kind of interesting. Okay, and then the first episode kind of devolves into here's this character, and here's this character, and here's this character, and here's this character, and here's this dilemma. Here's this dilemma. I was like, wait a minute. Why are we getting all these freaking characters? Can we get back to the actual story?
Yeah. And Andor, in the show, gets distracted by these subplots that are mostly irrelevant to the larger plot that's happening, that then it devotes an inordinate amount of time on. And
that's some of the pain I have with the mainstream so far. Every writer thinks they're so clever. They just think they're so genius that let me spin 40 plates, and then they're all going to converge somewhere down the line. It's like they did this with Acolyte too. Here's a ton of different storylines. We're going to spark off from the first episode, and then we're going to cleverly weave them and converge. No, start one story first, all right? Get that one rolling, and then you can start adding in other stuff. Okay, just stop trying to be so clever.
Everyone wants to be George R.R. Martin, but not everyone's as smart as George R.R. Martin.
Everyone wants to be George R.R. Martin. Everyone wants to be Alan Moore. Everyone wants to be seen as this genius creator, genius story weaver. But practice first. You can't, just because you grew up saying everyone telling you were special does not mean you are. All right, you need to practice first. You need to practice first. Yes, even you need practice first writing stories, because it's tough. It's difficult. And it's because they got a graduate degree or something in storytelling or feminist dance theory. Doesn't mean they can just come in and walk in and tell a story that is just amazingly woven. You need practice. So begin with a simple story first. Be straightforward about it. Just let's follow Andor first. How about you introduce me to Andor? The guy whose name is on the show.
Make Andor interesting. This guy is not a friggin' Han Solo by any stretch.
He was kind of bland in the first episode. He's just kind of like the guy. He's kind of the guy we follow around until we don't follow him around anymore.
Yeah, Han Solo is dynamic, entertaining, sometimes funny, right? With a good kind of character structure, whereas this rogue with a heart of gold deep down that you need to kind of unpack, right? Brilliant character setup for an engaging, person.
Han Solo was instantly likable. You kind of knew what kind of guy he was within the first 10 seconds or so, maybe the first couple of minutes. He's instantly likable. You kind of knew what guy he was, and you knew his place in the story right away. With Andor,
that was the genius thing about Star Wars. You knew that about every character you met, within 30 seconds.
Yeah. Here's the hero. Here's the Lancer. Here's the princess. Here's the best friend of Han Solo, who's kind of the big strong guy.
Yeah, and you can make more reserved, stoic characters dynamic and interesting, Andor, for me, has none of that. And is a bit wishy-washy in the beginning. Even this series, he kind of wants to give up on the rebellion, right? I've done my part, which comes off as like selfish and entitled. And I'm not saying you can't have those arcs, but they don't sell it in a way that it just makes me feel like this character is weak.
He's reluctant.
And you can have a reluctant one, but the execution doesn't come off that way to me. It comes
right, but
off
I think it's.
weak.
I mean, we know where the story ends, so
Yeah,
we
I
know
know,
where he's
He dies.
getting to.
We
right?
know where it's
I know,
going.
I know.
Um,
Right, he gives all. So being the reluctant character, and then it's the journey of getting to the place where he's willing to give everything.
I don't know, because as Nathan Country says, he's a charisma void. And so that journey isn't enjoyable to follow along with. I think that's one of the biggest failings of the show. Now, and then the next big failing is all these distractions, these subplots that seem and end up being largely irrelevant and stretching out. Like, genuinely, in these 9 episodes, I've seen 9 episodes so far, there is a awesome 3 episodes in those 9 episodes. Like, you could condense it into something actually decent, and that could be really good, right? But then when you stretch it out, where the large majority of what you're watching is boring, kind of disconnected, or not fully focused on the primary plot of what you want to follow, right? It ends up being like an unlikable show to me. And I think, like, I haven't actually seen Drinker's review, so I can't speak for him, but I could perceive people giving it credit, because I think some of these side plots, some of them are done competently enough. And probably the best example is actually in Andor season 1, where they go on this arc where Andor is in a prison for like several episodes. Okay. And you could actually cut that entire arc from Andor season 1, and it would be largely the same, honestly. It doesn't mean much, apart from maybe convincing Andor how bad the Imperial, people is, and wanting to join the rebellion. But you could achieve that in a lot of other ways. Okay. The arc itself is actually really competent if you made like the series about that, Jailbreak, Star Wars, or something like that. But it's felt so like separated and a distraction from the main plot of the rebellion. People do really like, some people have really liked it because it fleshes out the world. You get to see the darker side of the Imperial, and I get that. But for me, it felt like a distraction, a side plot that was less, it was harder for me to get invested in. And you have examples like that in Andor season 2, like with the wedding, the arc of Bix going through her trauma and stuff. That I like, even though I think you could say that they're executed competently, because they are separated from the main plot, it makes the show boring. And that's one of the, larger criticisms I think you could have for a show, that it's boring. But that is more subjective. People who don't find those parts boring will have a much more positive opinion of the show and will think that it's good. And they're entitled to think that. I respect Critical Jinker heaps. For me, I think the show's bad. And that's my opinion of it at the moment, with a speckling of decent things. Like, I'm annoyed by some of the execution and payoffs. I think they just do the cheap or lazy way out. And certain, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but there is resolution of a character in episode 8. It is, I think, where you follow this character all through season 1. It's not the main character, and he's an interesting character. It's probably more you could have a whole series about this guy, and something happens to him where I felt was just like, okay, did you not know what to do with this character then? Is that what got us there? Because I think how they handled that character was kind of lazy, and it just came out of nowhere. And there are multiple criticisms I could have with the show about that. But again, I don't want to go into too many spoilers. Yeah, like, it gets, for me, way too slow. I think Andor season 1, the first 3 episodes have near unforgivable filler. Like, there's a point in Andor where you see a character walk through a street, and literally it's like, you're walking through the street. Oh, he doesn't know he's going to keep walking through the street. What, he approaches someone, they have a small kind of exchange, Then it walks again. And then they get into this thing. And all it is to show how they send a coded message to Skarsgård's character. And it takes friggin' ages. And so there's a lot of pointless filler in this series. I could mention some of the things that I like, but again, it goes into a bit more spoilers because there's some good moments in it. There's some good moments. That doesn't redeem it for me. That's kind of where I'm at Andor. There are still 3 episodes to be seen, so I don't know how to conclude. Yet to be seen. One of the bigger disappointings for me, right, is they skipped a lot of the stuff that I would find really interesting. I want to see how the rebellion gets their army, how they get their ships, how they get their frigates and stuff like that. Like under the watch of the Empire and their intelligence agency ready to just jump on and oppress. And they are throwing people into prison for like the smallest infractions, right? With such an oppressive kind of monitoring state. I'm really interested in how the rebellion develops their whole army, right? How they develop their base on is it Yavin? It's the
Yavin 4.
Yavin 4, yeah. It's the base that they have in A New Hope, right?
Yeah.
They skip it. Like from episode 6 to 7, all the stuff I wanted to see happens off screen, and they're just on Yavin. And it seems like the security they have on Yavin is dog crap. It's like, how the hell did the Imperial, not find out where Yavin is? Where in like A New Hope, it was so difficult to find that they needed to put a tracker on the Millennium Falcon and do this whole fake out, release thing to find out where Yavin was, because the Yavin was such a brilliant, and it shouldn't even be Yavin at this point. I think it should be Dantooine. The rebel, the false rebel base that Princess Leia gives the Imperial guy, where they threaten to destroy what's the planet that they destroy?
Alderaan.
Alderaan, thank you. They threaten to destroy Alderaan, and Leia gives up a rebel base.
Dantooine,
Dantooine.
I think it's too close. I mean, I don't know how long this series takes, but they said the rebel base had been abandoned for some time. It's like, how long? Because this leads right up to her on the ship in episode 4.
Yeah.
So it's like it can't have been abandoned. It has to have been abandoned for a while in order for.
They have a year's gap in between each 3 episodes, and so I think it would work perfectly fine to have like a Dantooine be their base that they had in the episode 7, 8, 9. That they then abandon and have to,
By the way, the rebel fleet is built on Con Calamari. If you've read the books, so that's.
I just think that they skip such what would have been really interesting. Like I would have loved to have seen how the rebels get X-wings and how they build that, and it seems like that's where they were going. Like so much of the setup in Andor was setting up how the rebellion gets their money. And that's what Mon Mothma is working on, Skarsgård is working on. They have to funnel money and everything like that. And it felt like that was the lead in to then them having enough money to start to build the fleet. But then they skip it entirely. And it's like, oh, now they have Yavin and the ships. And I'm like, oh, well, that's disappointing. Instead, we get people walking, screaming a chant like, we are the Gorn. The galaxy will see, or something like that. They chant that. Like again, they stretch certain things on just way too long. The point where I'm just checked out.
It would be kind of cool to see like where they get other stuff from, because how would the rebellion get so armed with ships and like a fleet of its own, where with individual pilots and everything, underneath the Empire's nose? Like I know they have there is a rebellion full of senators or politicians or people in power and things like that, but how do they actually do that? That would have been kind of cool to see. Like what's the system that they use to funnel weapons to the rebellion?
So there is a debate about if Andor's writing is good, okay? And part of writing is not just making a competent scene or competent characters, okay? Part of writing is also pacing and making the story enjoyable and engaging. And if it's failing in that, even though the scenes might be competently written, you can call it has bad writing, okay? And so I think a lot of the scenes where we're getting distracted, a lot of the filler, a lot of this boring stuff that's dragged out too much is competently written, but it gets thrown off the pacing. It gets thrown off with having a engaging dynamic character that you can really get sucked in with. And as a result, I think the writing overall is bad with good parts in it. There are good moments in it that are definitely what I would consider well written, but the other parts, even if I could say are competent, get so drastically wrong and throw out the pacing so much, the point where if I'm not enjoying it because of this terrible execution in the pacing and the over focus on irrelevant stuff, that's bad writing to me. The thing is, I will grant it's going to be more subjective. I've had an interesting debate with Mauler once about what is good writing, and I think I'm representing his position accurately when I say this, but it was a while ago, so maybe I might get one or two things wrong. But from memory, we got to a point where he was saying you could have a story about a man writing his taxes, and if it was all made consistent sense in the story of beginning to end, right, it is a good story. And I disagreed with him. I say the purpose of a story is to entertain. Unless it's actually a documentary or something like that, there is a purpose or a goal that you want to achieve with writing. And with entertainment media, it is to be entertaining. And it actually means that makes it almost irrelevant how writing something competently and consistently is near an essential part to something being entertaining, but not always. There are styles of writing, which is literally purposefully have contradictory storytelling in it. And you see a lot of examples of this in comedy, where comedy there are comedy movies and stories where they actually make world-breaking contradictions for the gag, for the fun of it. And you can see this in a lot of the gag things, right? Because the primary goal of a comedy film is to be funny, and having inconsistencies and plot holes can actually assist that. And
like when Jason Momoa shows up at the end of Minecraft and saves the day.
Chicken jockey.
See, no, because you have goofy films that clearly don't like consistency and contradictions don't matter. But then you have a lot, and most stories, it does matter. Okay.
There's also there's tropes called like rule of cool, rule of funny, which kind of cover what you're talking about. Or this is okay in the story because it's cool. It's called the rule of cool, which is kind of like what John Wick like coasting on. And then there's comedies that go coast off of rule of funny. And so, yeah, if the story makes sense logically from beginning to end, it is a logical story, but not necessarily a good one. You want it to be entertaining as well. It's also a factor in that whole thing. So if it's not entertaining stories, it might be logical, but I wouldn't say it would necessarily be a good one.
Well, I've made a whole video on this. So go to Shadiversity and look up when the rule of cool goes too far, because the rule of cool is an important thing that you can use. Absolutely. And sometimes you might, sacrifice a little bit of realism just for that cool factor, but then you can take it off a cliff and go way too far where you think something is awesome and it makes it just stupid and retarded. Okay.
If you've been too far that it breaks verisimilitude, then you've broken it. Like if it's like some people were like, "Oh yeah, John Wick is cool." They didn't watch the fourth one. I like the fourth one a lot. I bought the movie and everything. But after he's like falling from the fourth story building onto a car and then walks away,
that broke it for me. I couldn't get into it when I see nonsense like
there's a point where you go a little too far.
I thought the fourth one was the best one since the first one.
So
it's the most action packed and everything. I do like it a lot. Yeah. But
so with storytelling, knowing the goal of the medium that you're making, right, is crucial. Okay, if the medium or genre is comedy, the goal is to make it funny. If it's to entertain, that's the goal. Okay, and so if you made a story that was meant to entertain, and it's a guy doing his taxes, and that's it. That would, even if it was perfectly written, we're talking about competent, no inconsistency at all, everything made sense. I would say it's a terrible story for how drastically it fails at its purpose, at achieving its purpose. Okay. Now, again, people can take it too far with the rule of cool, where they think, okay, that means if I focus on just making something cool and entertaining, I can. No, oftentimes to make something entertaining, you need consistency in storytelling, because that means the stakes matter. And if the stakes matter, people will be invested. And that means the payoffs will hit with the proper emotional weight. And so, yes, having consistency is crucial, but it's not the only thing. If you just say, oh, a consistent story of a guy doing his taxes, no, where's the entertainment value? And I think Andor is actually a brilliant example of this, because for me, it does a lot of things very competently, but it fails in a big way at being truly entertaining.
Because a logical story could technically be just, okay, he sat down, did his taxes, and then he did all this stuff, right? And you get to the end of the story, and then his taxes are complete. Not necessarily, like, a story is kind of where Freytag's triangle comes in, where you have the rising action, because you also do rising action, inciting incident, rising action, and then climax, and then falling action, then denouement. That's, you can have I could tell you a story about a guy doing his taxes that makes sense, but without the rising action, climax, and falling action, you probably don't really have an entertaining story.
And I want to jump on this chat. It's like, I disagree. Pacing can be crucial. Like, poor pacing can break a story. Okay, it's in
That's
the
where Freytag's triangle comes in.
Yeah.
You need to know where to put your rising action and everything.
Yeah. Having said that, there are some shows, because then there is subjective taste, and subjective taste is going to be a part of this, right? Where certain things will have an inordinate effect on certain people based on their taste, right? I love swords. You throw a sword in a movie, it makes the movie a lot more entertaining for me than it would for people who don't care about swords.
Yeah, that's why I loved all four. I love all four John Wick movies, even though like they make less and less sense as they go along. I just want to see a guy run and gun and do all these kinds of crazy things in fantastic locations.
Yeah, Jackie Chan movies, martial art films, right? The primary goal for me, what I want out of that, is friggin' kick-ass fight scenes. And story and good acting matter much less to me. I can ignore those vastly more in those films than a film that has dramatic weight, and therefore the acting and delivery mean a lot. And so to Saint Sir Nicholas, who says pacing is important, I will give him this bone, where it doesn't depend on what people kind of are wanting out of what they're viewing, what they value more. Pacing is very important still, but if you're just there for kick-ass fight scenes, you can ignore a lot of the bad pacing in a lot of things.
There, see Jackie Chan walk into a bar and get in a fight with a bunch of Chris Tucker's friends for saying a few things. Well, then that's awesome. You're going to be fulfilled.
Yeah, and so I think the discussion of if Andor is good or not leads to what I find a genuinely intriguing discussion on the nature of storytelling and what people value and other things. And it goes into fundamental philosophy that I genuinely think about a lot and study a lot, because I'm a storyteller. As a writer, these are things that I genuinely want to consider, because my goal is to try and be the best storyteller, writer I can be. And the goal then is to make a story that is enjoyable, entertaining, engaging, where you can be invested in it. And those are legitimate things I need to consider, because I could be writing a scene that is very consistently, it could even be considered brilliantly written, but if it's not enjoyable, if the reader isn't sucked in, I am failing as a writer then, because I'm not achieving the goal. The goal is to write a story that is entertaining and enjoyable for someone thing. And so for me, Andor failed at that for me as a viewer, and it's failed a lot for a lot of people, but for other people who value different things, they really like it. So it's more in the subjective kind of territory with that. And it's hard to say, will you like it as a viewer? It depends on what you want out of your Star Wars. You might like it, you might not. But if you liked season 1, it's a good chance you'll like season 2. I can probably say that. But if you hated season 1, you probably will hate season 2. So there's a good measuring stick for that. All right, gentlemen, let's start to wrap things up. We'll catch these super chats. So Boog for 20MX says, that's an awesome looking Doom, Mike. Sup, boys? Sup to you. Yeah, actually, you should do that more often, Mike. It's actually really cool. Like, you're a talented man.
Yeah, I mean, gladly, because this is a commission, so I would gladly just have the camera on this while we're shooting the crap, because
Now, is that one canonically straight, or is there wiggle room there?
There is no wiggle in my room. I will share my my whatnot link if people want to come over and watch me draw after the fact. So
it's awesome, man. Check out Mike's channel as well. Then Boog for 28 says, Shad, I didn't get to hear if you liked your pony. I think I did like my pony. He was a suave looking pony, and he had a sword. That's the important part, Boog, and you got that right. Appreciate you. Darkland, I can't pronounce it. For $2 says, how Kirsche, forever spicy and based. Kirsche's funny. Oh, we like Kirsche. Lacanthus, I think that's it. $5 says, I'm watching Delayed. You were talking about Rhodesia, not South Africa. When it became Zimbabwe, everyone starved. There we go. I think that was when you were talking about some of that stuff happening. It's all on the African continent.
yeah, I believe that happened under Nelson Mandela, though. So I don't know. I can look it up.
Yep.
Not right now.
Retro Meister for $5 says, hello, gents. When the attacks against Foxu backfiring, with the attacks against Foxu, will these activists be more bold to attack anyone else that don't go with their groupthink BS? I don't know, because I don't see a lot of these activists changing, but I see their attempts failing more often. And we saw that a lot with the N-word, lady at the on the playground. We talked about that on the last stream, where
like in 2016, her life would be over.
Yeah. So things do seem to be changing, and as people are getting fed up, and they're doing what I've been saying. Not just me, heaps of people saying, ignore the cancel mob. They're powerless. Okay, and we're seeing that more and more, which is good. But those activists are still there, and I still think they're going to try. And so you have to be vigilant. Always stay on watch. That's our tagline. Mark of Reality, $5 says, a lot of major creators have been complaining about the drippy YouTube algorithm. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. It's completely inconsistent. I'll have one video that does really well and another video that, is just as good, targeted to the same audience. Look, I'm grateful for whatever views I get, but videos that could do way better than what they do is wholly based on if YouTube is bothering to promote them or not. And it is actively not caring about promoting my videos to my subscribers. Subscribers don't mean spit now. It just doesn't and so it makes it a very inconsistent thing. You just can't predict what's going to happen in the future. And so I am only able to keep doing what I'm doing thanks to the supporters. And so we shifted our focus on the main channel, Shadiversity, with paid content. Like if you sign up for $1 a month, starting there, you will get exclusive video content. And we've been doing that weekly for a couple of months now. And that is working out. That is the sustainable model for me. And it's actually, it's doing it. It's doing the job, which is really good. I'm very grateful for that. And as to what will happen on YouTube in terms of views, I just can't say. It's hard. You just can't predict these days. Mark of Reality, $5 says, for $5 again, Japan was fascist in World War II. Yeah, that's kind of where I was pushing it when I said, how were the Japanese in the early 20th century?
Are you telling me they were cool in World War II?
And their officers carried katanas at the time. That's what I was saying. The katana is the most fascist one. It's just logic. We even have Mike saying it. Mike agrees. And he's part Japanese, which gives it authority, doesn't it, Mike?
That's accurate.
Yep. The Sinning Fish. $5 says, the Helldiver's sword is a saber with a Yelman. Well, there we go. We were wrong about the medieval sword. The back edge is sharp near the tip. It sounds like it has a clip point. It is most similar to the Hungarian sabers from the 1700s to 1890s. Well, that's a bit unfair that they're just calling a saber a fascist sword. Is it because, the saber was used in the British military a lot and early American military? Saber's not particularly fascist.
It's had to be European. That's the fascist thing.
Yeah. That's a. Well, thank you for filling us in on that one. Judah for $2 says, "The Miller, His Son, and the Donkey Fable."
It's probably, you know what, they probably call the saber fascist because that's kind of the saber, all those, the people, the guys that conquered the Native Americans or the Indians.
Possibly.
Those are the guys, they had sabers. So I guess it would be that. It could be that, attached to that.
Possibly, but sorry, Judah, I don't know the context of your super chat, but thank you for it. Lean Back for $5 says, "Shad, picture it. Your next thumbnail has you armored up and looking nervously in a mirror. Caption reads, 'Honey, does this sword make me look fascist?'" Should I do a video on that? I could unironically. That is a good thumbnail. That could get views. That's the type of thing has the question mark to it. People will be wondering, what is this about? I could do it.
Where Shad talks about the master race of swords. It's gonna be fantastic.
Yes, I could talk about the master race of swords and what sword logically would be the most fascist sword. Wow, I might need to make a video on that. I might actually add that because that could be a fun discussion to have with Tyrant. Thank you, Lean Back. You're giving me inspiration. Michael Dunev. How do you say it, Mike? How do you pronounce this?
Yeah, Dunev.
For $20. Thank you. "I find it odd so many people who trash bad writing in every other show are giving a show with great complex writing and don't seem to appreciate it. Everything you think goes on for too long or is unnecessary has a payoff." I disagree. I think some of the payoffs actually fall very flat. And we talked about my larger kind of context and opinions on what is good writing. Okay. Even if it's competent, if it's failing or what it's achieving, I don't think it's good writing. But if you are liking it, Michael, I'm glad you are. All power to you. Wasted Space for $20 says, "Fell asleep more than once during season 1 Andor. Slow pacing. Some interesting things, not enough to keep it watchable for me." That's where I'm at. And that's a problem. If something is well written, this reaction should not be as common as it is. If it's a well written show, that means it's engaging, it's entertaining, right? But too many people are having this reaction, myself included, which points to a failure in the writing. It seems to just be the Star Wars show in referencing more interesting things. Should have been a book. Perhaps. I mean,
I would point out that I've heard a lot of people had that same reaction to Blade Runner, and I don't think anyone would consider Blade Runner badly written.
I'd have to rewatch it to decide, because there are things that a lot of people love that I'll call out. And
it's good if you read the book first.
Yeah.
I think Blade Runner is as good as people say if you read the book first.
Yeah. But I don't see as many people saying that about Blade Runner than they do about Andor. Andor seems to have a...
Blade Runner came out today.
For instance, how many people have watched Andor? It's not.
I watched one episode. I have seen Blade Runner, though, and read the Andor Dreamer Like Sheep. I have those. Those underneath the belt.
Michael Dunafe, again, for $2 says... short aside, but how's Nate doing? Cheers. Nate's doing great. He actually came by, just popped in for a couple of months ago, but he was doing great. It's good to see him. Love Nate. I haven't had a recent update, but last I saw him, doing awesome, and I love the guy. Jack Decker for $5 says, "Just had to resubscribe to Shadiversity again." Well, I'm glad you did. Don't know why it's but I'm glad we brought you back in, sir. Appreciate you.
It might be because YouTube keeps unsubscribing him.
That could be it. That happens a lot. All right. This has been a great stream. Loved it. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me again. Love the conversations that we're able to have here. And Lit Dev, is there anything that you want to share while we wrap up?
Oh yes. I finally, after I think someone calculated 8 months. Took me a while to get this one out, but is a new video on my channel tearing to pieces The Last Jedi, going over the philosophy of it, why you felt so raw about it. It's 2.5 hours long, so it's a long man one. And also, it's not so long that it's longer than the movie. So it's down to the minute is the exact same length as The Last Jedi. So if they say you can't have a review longer than the movie, well, it's not. It's the exact same length. So I technically didn't break those rules.
Legend. Awesome, man. So glad you got it out. It's always good when you finish one of those large projects.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Finally, it was really like a relief off your shoulders.
Nice. And Mike, your
Well-
Doom guy is looking brilliant.
Thank you all. Thank you. I got most of this ink. Oh, it's almost done. Just got to
Yeah.
finish his hand up for the inks. But
I actually didn't know you were that good at hand coloring.
I've gotten so much better in the last 2 weeks. It's crazy.
That looks
'cause I
freaking
never
sick.
really did it a lot, but you should see some of the ones. I'll put them up on my Comic Art Fans. You guys are on comicartfans.com. I've been uploading a lot of these after I do them, but yeah, just almost all the commissions I've been getting have been full color, and I've just been going to town on these and getting better with the hand coloring stuff. So it's a lot of fun,
Awesome.
and I'm doing quite well over there. So feel free to come on by. The link is in the chat. It's that Whatnot link. I'll be streaming later tonight. I've got something from Devil May Cry. I don't know quite what I'm drawing, but it's a character from Devil May Cry I'm doing after this.
And
Is
you
it
know,
virgin?
like people buying, these handmade art that you're making, right?
Yeah.
Kind of goes to the point that I was saying about handmade art will always have like a prestige and premium on it. Like people could just get someone to do AI, but the fact that it is hand done and they'll have the physical thing in their hand done with real colors that you made makes it like superior, special, right?
It's real. It's real.
It's real. Yeah. And there's always going to be a market for it. In fact, the prevalence of AI art might actually make this stuff more valuable because so few people will actually be able to do it. Right.
Right. It's like silversmiths.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
100%.
People, it used to just be like super rich people could afford like nice silver and stuff. And it's like now silversmiths have to do just more unique pieces as opposed, and everybody just gets the hammered out freaking steel forks.
No, it's right. I like the actual, cream of the crop, the talented artists, man, they're still they're gonna be fine. Okay.
Yeah, there's always a market for people who want handmade stuff.
Yeah.
It's Ben Parker. Not Nathan Cassidy. It's the Whatnot link. It's Blacklist Universe that I'm posting in the chat. So yeah, just go over to the Whatnot. That should take you to my channel. So just go there and subscribe, whatever.
Legend. And everyone knows where I am. Got Shadiversity. That look, video will be coming out soon about
Fascism and swords.
maybe. No, this one is like which sword is the best one to do draw cuts, like sheath cuts, drawing from the sheath and cutting in the same motion? Is the katana really the best at doing that?
Yes.
And the result, well, watch the video because I think you're going to be surprised at the results. That's coming out. And also the Culture Crusade here on Night's Watch. Appreciate everyone. Thank you for joining us. Hope to see you next time. And as always, stay on watch.